Mel Gibson has spent close to 5 decades turning movie paychecks into land, islands, and vineyards. The story of where that money actually went runs through ranches in Montana, jungle compounds in Costa Rica, a private island in Fiji, and one of the most expensive divorces Hollywood has ever recorded. So let's follow the money, starting with the deal that changed everything. Before we get to the islands and the ranches, we need to talk about the number that shaped everything else Mel Gibson has done with his money since 2011. At the peak of his career, before the fallout, before the tabloid years, Gibson's fortune was estimated at a staggering height. The Oscar winner's fortune has been estimated to be as high as $850 million, according to a 2006 report in the Los Angeles Business Journal. That's the number everyone points to when they explain what happened next. Gibson and his wife of over 3 decades, Robin Moore, never signed a prenup. That single decision ended up costing him more than any bad investment or failed movie ever could. Because the couple did not have a prenuptial agreement, his ex-wife was entitled to half of everything Gibson earned during their marriage. When the papers were finally signed, the number that came out was jaw-dropping. Mel Gibson became $425 million poorer thanks to a divorce settlement finalized between the actor and his wife of 31 years, Robin Denise Moore. That settlement wasn't just cash sitting in an account. It was tied directly to Gibson's biggest financial gamble ever paying off. The final settlement, reportedly $425 million, included half of the $600 million Gibson grossed from his religious epic, The Passion of the Christ, as well as shared ownership of numerous real estate holdings. Half of his self-funded biblical blockbuster gone in one signature. And it didn't stop there. Moore wasn't just getting a lump sum and walking away. The Braveheart star had to share his film residual income with his ex-wife, with Robin entitled to half of every future residual check Mel receives for the rest of his life. So right there, you've got a man who built one of the largest personal fortunes in Hollywood spending, involuntarily, nearly $500 million on a single legal outcome. Some outlets have pegged Moore's actual take even higher. The lack of a prenuptial agreement meant Robin Moore was entitled to half of Mel Gibson's fortune, which at the time was reported to be around $850 million, and she reportedly walked away with $450 million. And here's the thing, that wasn't even the only massive payout Gibson made around that same period. Just months before the divorce was finalized, he was already writing checks tied to another relationship entirely. The massive payout came just months after Gibson agreed to pay ex-girlfriend and mother of his young daughter Oksana Grigorieva $750,000 after the couple was embroiled in a brutal custody battle. Add a home for the child on top of that, and you start to see the shape of Gibson's spending in that era. Not vacations, not toys, but legal settlements worth hundreds of millions of dollars stacked one on top of another. What's remarkable is what was left standing after all of that. Even after handing over what amounted to roughly half his fortune, Gibson didn't come out. The other side broke. The settlement transferred roughly half of his accumulated wealth to Moore in a single transaction. But what remained, estimated at between $350 and $425 million, still represented a level of financial security beyond any reasonable measure. Gibson did not end up poor. Today, most trackers converge on a similar figure. He has an estimated net worth of $425 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. So the money that's left, the money we're actually going to spend the rest of this video tracking, is money that survived a near $500 million hit and kept right on growing, which raises the obvious question. How does a man who just lost hundreds of millions of dollars in a single legal proceeding turn around and buy an entire island in the South Pacific? To answer that, we have to go back to where Gibson started putting his money before the divorce ever happened, because the spending habit was already well underway. Gibson's first serious real estate move happened back when Braveheart was still in production. Old Mill Farm, one of Greenwich, Connecticut's great estates, was once home to Mel Gibson, who purchased it in 1994 for $9.3 million during the filming of one of his most iconic movies, Braveheart. This wasn't a fixer-upper he flipped for quick cash. He spent 15 years restoring and modernizing the estate before selling it in 2010 for just under $24 million. 15 years of pouring money into boxwood mazes, orchards, a spring-fed lake, and a Cotswold-style stone cottage, the kind of patient, obsessive spending that would define his approach to property for the next 3 decades. The estate boasted a boxwood maze and orchards, a tennis court and swimming pool, a horse stable with paddocks and riding trails, a spring-fed lake with a dock, and multiple outbuildings, including a Cotswold-style stone cottage, a log cabin, and a greenhouse. He even gave the place a nickname that tells you everything about how he saw it. Gibson nicknamed the estate Wayne Manor, a reference to Batman's home, and hosted lavish parties there, entertaining Hollywood guests and industry insiders. That's the pattern we're going to see over and over. Gibson doesn't just buy property, he transforms it, lives inside it like a character in one of his own films, and then eventually cashes out. If Connecticut was Gibson playing at being Bruce Wayne, Montana was Gibson playing at being a cattle rancher, and he committed to it for nearly 2 decades. Long before Yellowstone made ranch life fashionable in Hollywood circles, Gibson had already bought his way into it for real. Gibson bought the ranch from Vern Sanders in 1988. This wasn't a hobby farm. They both ran the ranch as a well-known Black Angus cattle operation. He held on to it for 17 years, running actual livestock before eventually selling. It's owned by Kent Williams, the founder of renowned belt buckle maker and jeweler Montana Silversmiths, who bought the property from Gibson in a 2005 handshake deal, according to reports from the time. No lawyers, no drawn-out negotiation. Just 2 men in Montana shaking hands over what would later be valued at tens of millions of dollars. The property itself was enormous. The property is located about 5 miles south of Columbus and straddles 4 miles of the Stillwater River, a popular fishing and recreational boating waterway. By the time it changed hands, the operation had grown well beyond what Gibson originally purchased. When the Williamses bought the property in 2005, the acreage was listed at $45,000. Elk, deer, waterfowl, upland birds, a working ecosystem, not a vanity purchase. Hall's real estate listing touts the Beartooth Ranch for its wildlife, including elk and deer, as well as waterfowl and upland birds. What's notable is that Gibson didn't build some glass and steel celebrity compound out there. The buildings on the ranch were, and remained, working ranch infrastructure. 2 comfortable homes, extensive shops, barns, and a small indoor arena are included in the purchase price. This was money spent on function, not spectacle. Pastures, fencing, cattle infrastructure. The kind of spending that doesn't show up on a red carpet, but quietly ties up tens of millions of dollars in dirt and grass. By the time the ranch resurfaced on the market decades later, its value had climbed dramatically from what Gibson originally paid. Hall is listing the Beartooth Ranch's 12,350 deeded acres and 1,000 acres of leased land for $29.8 million. That's the kind of appreciation that turns a rancher's hobby into a smart, long-term financial position. Even if Gibson himself had cashed out of it years before that number was reached. Montana wasn't an isolated purchase either. It fit a broader pattern of Gibson chasing wide-open land far from cameras, something that becomes even clearer once you look south to Central America, where he was simultaneously building an entirely different kind of retreat. While the Montana cattle operation ran in the background, Gibson was assembling a second, very different escape. This time, deep in the jungle of Costa Rica's Pacific coast. He found the land almost by accident, while scouting locations for a film. Gibson discovered the 400-acre property while scouting locations for his 2006 movie Apocalypto. What he built there wasn't a single house. It was a compound of 3 separate villas, each with its own identity. The largest of the Costa Rica villas, Casa Guanacaste, encompasses 7 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms, while Casa Barrigona offers 2 bedrooms and a cottage by the swimming pool, and Casa Dorada has 2 additional bedrooms and a loft. Every detail was custom-sourced rather than off the shelf. The villas at Playa Barrigona are custom-fitted with native woods and imported tile, offering expansive layouts with multiple verandas, vaulted ceilings, and fine finishings throughout. This is where you start to see Gibson's spending habit reveal something specific about him. Privacy was worth almost any price. The location itself was chosen because almost nobody else knew about it. Playa Barragona is such a haven of solitude and serenity that olive ridley sea turtles travel thousands of miles across the Pacific each year to lay their eggs on this beach. A beach so remote that sea turtles treat it as untouched, and Gibson built 3 houses on the hill above it. The purchase itself came at a specific moment. Purchased by the A-list celebrity in 2007, Mel Gibson tried on several occasions to sell his sprawling luxury home in Costa Rica. When he eventually did try to offload it, the asking price showed just how much value had been built into the land. The tropical retreat, which features 3 different homes, was placed on the market by Oscar-winning actor and director Mel Gibson for $29.75 million. Locally, the property carried a slightly different valuation. Mel Gibson owns a $25.8 million ranch that sprawls across 402 acres of Costa Rica's Pacific coast. The move to sell wasn't random timing either. The Oscar-winning Braveheart director, who had suffered a series of public embarrassments in recent years after a decades-long reign as a top box office star, was selling the 500-acre compound to downsize his real estate portfolio following his divorce. In other words, the same settlement that cost him hundreds of millions was directly forcing him to liquidate assets he'd spent years building. But even as he was trimming his portfolio in Central America, Gibson was expanding somewhere far more remote, an actual private island in the South Pacific. He'd wanted a specific island for years, and when the owner refused to sell, he found the next best thing. Mel Gibson fell in love with an island when he was exploring Fiji to purchase one, but at that time, the owner adamantly refused to sell, so Gibson bought elsewhere. What he ended up with was enormous by any private island standard. Mel Gibson acquired the 5,400-acre Mago Island for $15 million from Japan's Tokyu Corporation in early 2005. The timing tracked directly with his biggest career payday. World-famous actor Mel Gibson bought the island soon after his global success for the controversial movie The Passion of the Christ. He was, quite literally, converting box office profits directly into square miles of Pacific real estate. The island came with a complicated backstory that Gibson inherited the moment he signed. The purchase was fairly controversial, given the island's colorful past. During the late 1800s, both a cotton plantation and a sugar plantation were established on the island, and descendants of original native inhabitants have protested Gibson's big purchase. Unlike almost everything else in his portfolio, though, this was one purchase Gibson chose never to develop or flip. Mago Island is currently valued at $20 million, despite the property remaining undeveloped through the years. 20 years, and he's left it essentially untouched, one of the very few places his money went where he chose not to build anything at all. If Montana and Costa Rica and Fiji were about escape, Malibu was about staying close to the industry while still living like it was 1,350. Gibson bought and sold Malibu property more than almost any other market he touched, and each house told a slightly different story about where his money was going. Take the property he bought from another A-list actor's ex-family. Mr. Gibson bought the property in 2008 for $11.5 million through a trust linked to his company, Icon Productions, according to property records. He didn't buy it from a stranger, either. Gibson bought the home from a trust belonging to X-Files star David Duchovny and his ex-wife T. Leone, according to Trulia. Then came the renovation, and this is where Gibson's specific taste really shows up in the numbers. He didn't modernize the place. He leaned all the way into a medieval aesthetic that most Malibu buyers would never touch. The old world-themed home has a bit of fairy tale charm and a lot of medieval design inspiration with an exterior of stone, stucco, and wood paneling. And the interiors also play up the rustic charm with exposed ceiling beams, stone fireplaces, and a wooden tower. He even converted parts of the house into personal religious spaces. The director and producer of the 2004 biblical drama, The Passion of the Christ, turned several fireplace mantels into Christian shrines, complete with medieval regalia, including 2 large wooden crosses, rosary beads, and depictions of Jesus and Mary. Stained glass in the shower, tapestries on the walls. This is a man spending money to build a chapel he happened to also live inside of. In keeping with the Middle Ages theme, the home also has tapestry wall hangings and a stained glass window in the shower. When he finally listed it, the markup on his personal touches was substantial. Mel Gibson listed the 5.5-acre, multi-building estate overlooking the Pacific Ocean for $17.5 million after nearly a decade of ownership. That's a $6 million gain on the purchase price, largely built on stone towers and religious iconography that most flippers would never think to install. But that wasn't his only Malibu play. He also owned the working family home where he and Robin actually raised their 7 kids, a very different kind of property from the medieval fantasy estate. The recently remodeled home has 6 bedrooms and 6 baths, with the estate also featuring a tennis court, a swimming pool, 3 guest houses, 2 offices, a detached gym, and a garden cabana with a game room. Not to mention fruit orchards and organic gardens. When that one went up for sale, the tone of the listing changed completely. This was described as the place where the family actually lived, not a stage set. It's only one of several Malibu homes and other properties that the Braveheart star owns, but it is the one that he and his wife raised their family in and called home. There was a third Malibu estate too, listed even higher than the medieval manor. One of Mel Gibson's collection of properties in his rustic elegant style is for sale in Malibu, priced at $14.495 million. The estate was tucked well away from public view. Gibson's estate is accessed through a long gated drive ending at a large motor court, and the scale of the main house alone gives you a sense of just how much square footage Gibson was willing to pay for in a single coastal property. The 6,578 square foot house is entered via a 2-story foyer that opens into an expansive great room. Add it all up, 3, sometimes 4 Malibu estates running at once, each one purchased in the 8-figure range, each one held for years and renovated before eventually being sold. And you start to understand that Malibu wasn't a single purchase for Gibson. It was practically a revolving door of 8-figure real estate, cycling in and out for over 2 decades while he simultaneously ran ranches on 2 continents and owned an island in the Pacific. So after all the settlements, all the ranches, all the coastal compounds, where does Gibson's money actually go today? The answer splits into 3 lanes: quiet giving, calculated risk on his own films, and a life that's noticeably scaled down from the empire-building years. Start with the giving, because it's the part that gets the least attention. Gibson has spent decades funneling money into causes with almost no press coverage attached. He has self-funded the restoration of numerous high-value Renaissance paintings, made multi-million-dollar contributions to the National Institute on Drug Abuse and local terminal illness charities in Singapore, and in 2007 provided the financial seed money for a tire recycling facility in Gallup, New Mexico. None of that comes with a press tour. Its money quietly moved into art conservation, medical research, and industrial recycling, about as far from a tabloid headline as a celebrity's checkbook can get. He's done the same thing internationally, more than once. During one of his biggest productions, he turned around and gave back to the community that hosted his crew. While wrapping up filming in the jungles of Mexico's Veracruz state, Gibson donated money to build houses for poor people in the region through the Rotary Club and Mexico's Family Welfare Agency, to construct homes for poor residents of the port city of Veracruz and the city of San Andres Tuxtla. And that wasn't a one-off gesture tied to a film shoot. He'd already made a similar move after a natural disaster hit the same region. The previous October, he had met with the Mexican president to announce he would donate US $1 million to help Mexico recover from Hurricane Stan, which left more than 1,500 people dead or missing across Central America and Mexico. Then there's the risk he's always been most famous for, betting his own money on his own films when nobody else would. This is the single decision that arguably built his entire fortune in the first place. After every major studio passed on the project, Gibson self-funded the $45 million production and marketing budget for The Passion of the Christ, and it became the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, netting Gibson a personal profit of nearly $475 million. That single bet is the reason there was ever $850 million to divide up in a divorce settlement in the first place. It's the engine behind every ranch, every villa, every acre of Pacific Island he ever bought. He's kept betting on himself since. As of 2026, Mel Gibson remains a prolific force behind the camera. He recently completed directing the high-stakes thriller Flight Risk, starring Mark Wahlberg, and is currently in active development on the long-awaited sequel, The Passion of the Christ: Resurrection, which is expected to be one of the most significant independent releases of the decade. That sequel alone is shaping up to be another enormous personal investment. The same playbook he ran in 2004, put his own money on the table, direct it himself, and let the box office decide. As for what's left of the old empire, most of it is gone, sold off piece by piece over the past decade and a half. The Connecticut mansion sold, the Montana cattle ranch sold in that handshake deal, the Costa Rica jungle compound listed and relisted for years. Even the Malibu medieval manor eventually went to a new owner. What's remained constant, oddly, is the one purchase he never tried to cash in on, the island in Fiji, still sitting undeveloped, exactly as it was when he bought it 2 decades ago. What that tells you is that Gibson's spending was never really about accumulating trophies to keep forever. It was about buying total privacy wherever he could find it. A jungle nobody visits, a mountain valley accessible mostly by handshake, an island so far from anywhere that even Hollywood couldn't follow him there. And then, when life moved on, letting most of it go, the fortune took a $500 million hit in a courtroom, and it kept generating enough to buy that kind of distance anyway. That's really the whole story of how Mel Gibson spent his millions, not on excess for its own sake, but on land, distance, and one enormous bet on a film nobody else wanted to make, a bet that in the end paid for everything else.